Prices of used cars expected to drop this year. This according to a new report from Cox Automotive. Experts explain that more cars are becoming available as supply chain issues ease.
Something's wrong with the American car dream. Lots are overflowing, prices are crashing, and what was once a $2.8 trillion empire is now running out of gas. Fast. But what's coming next could change how America buys cars forever. It started quietly. A few more cars showing up on lots. A few less customers walking through the doors. Then one morning it hit like a wave. Rows of unsold vehicles stretched as far as you could see. Shiny, spotless, and completely still. After the pandemic, automakers were desperate to catch up. For almost 2 years, factories sat half empty. Chip shortages, shipping delays, and worker strikes had slowed everything to a crawl. When production finally came back online, they pushed harder than ever. Thousands of cars rolling off the lines every day. But while factories were speeding up, buyers were slowing down. Interest rates climbed, inflation ate away at savings, and new car prices hit record highs. The people who used to trade every 3 years started holding on to their old cars. Families that once dreamed of owning an SUV or a truck were now just trying to keep their bills paid. By the time automakers realized what was happening, the lots were already full. Across the US, nearly 4.5 million cars are sitting unsold. Dealers call it metal in the sun. Each car costs them money every single day it doesn't move. The average vehicle now sits on a lot for more than 150 days, nearly double what's considered healthy. For dealers, that's a nightmare. Most of them don't actually own the cars on their lot. They borrow money from banks to keep that inventory. And with interest rates so high, those loans have become a noose. Every unsold car adds up. Thousands of dollars in interest each month just to hold cars no one's buying. One dealer from Texas said it best. "We're not selling cars anymore. We're paying rent on them." Across the country, it's the same story. Dealers are losing an estimated $500 a day per car, just in carrying costs, a slow bleed no discount can stop. Some dealerships have already shut their doors. Others are slashing prices below cost just to clear space. Manufacturers aren't safe either. They can't just stop production overnight. Contracts, suppliers, and labor deals keep the wheels turning. So they keep building, even when no one's buying. Trucks, sedans, EVs all piling up in parking lots behind factories, waiting for buyers who may never come. What began as recovery turned into a flood. An industry that once prided itself on precision and planning is now drowning in its own product. What started as too much stock has become a death spiral. But the real problem wasn't on the lots, it was the loans, keeping them alive. Behind every shiny car on the lot, there's a silent cost ticking like a clock. Most people don't know this, but dealerships don't actually own the cars they sell. They borrow money from banks to keep those cars in stock. A system called floor plan financing. Here's how it works. A dealer takes out a short-term loan for every car that arrives. When that car sells, the loan gets paid off. It's a simple cycle, when times are good. But when sales slow down, that system turns into quicksand. Every day a car sits unsold, interest builds up. And with today's high rates, that small daily cost has exploded. On average, dealers are paying $40 to $60 per day, per car, just in interest. 100 cars on a lot? That's $1,000 a day, gone before the door even opens. A few years ago, those same loans were cheap, rates were low, buyers were plenty, and cars moved fast. Dealers could afford to wait. But now math doesn't work. Vehicles that used to sell in 30 days are sitting for 150 or more, and every extra day eats into profit until there's nothing left. Some dealers have started pulling cars out of display just to cut costs, hiding them in rented warehouses, parking them in empty lots, anything to avoid the pressure from banks. But that pressure keeps growing. Banks themselves are feeling the strain. With rising defaults and slower payments, many lenders are quietly pulling back. Some are cutting credit lines or raising requirements, leaving smaller dealerships stranded. For independent owners, that's a death sentence. Without access to cheap credit, they can't stock new inventory, and without inventory, they can't survive. Big dealer groups with strong balance sheets might weather the storm, but for family-run dealerships, the kind that have been around for decades, this is something they've never seen before. It's a chain reaction. High rates push up costs. Slower sales push down profits, and the debt in between starts to crush the people holding it all together. The truth is, it's not just a car problem anymore, it's a credit problem. And in a business built on borrowed money, once the credit starts to dry up, everything else follows. For years, Americans lined up to buy cars they couldn't wait to drive. New models sold out before they even hit the lot. But today, the showrooms are silent. Salespeople wait by the doors, scrolling through their phones, hoping someone walks in. The buyers are gone. Inflation has eaten away at savings, rent is higher than ever, and loan rates have climbed up so fast that even a basic sedan now comes with a payment that feels like a mortgage. A few years ago, a 3% interest rate was normal. Now many buyers face 8 to 9%, even double digits, if they qualify at all. Families that once traded cars every few years are now holding on to the ones they have. Mechanics say repair shops are busier than ever, because people would rather fix an old car than risk another loan. First-time buyers, especially younger ones, are stepping back completely. The excitement of getting a new car has turned into anxiety about debt. For the first time in decades, Americans are scared to buy cars. That fear is spreading fast. Every new headline about layoffs or rising costs chips away at confidence. When people don't trust the market, they wait. They wait for prices to drop. They wait for interest rates to fall. They wait for someone else to make the first move. But that waiting has become its own trap. Dealers slash prices to lure customers, only for buyers to hold off longer, thinking an even bigger discount is coming. It's a psychological collapse, the moment when confidence disappears and hesitation takes its place. And it's not just budget cars sitting unsold. Parked side by side collecting dust are luxury SUVs, sports cars, and electrified versions. Rows of high-end vehicles once reserved for the wealthy are now part of the same problem. The dream of exclusivity has vanished. One salesman said, "I used to sell excitement, now I sell fear." The irony is, there have never been more options. Better technology, safer designs, cleaner engines. But none of it matters when people don't believe the timing is right. The trust between buyer and market, between dream and decision, has cracked. And once trust is gone, no ad campaign or rebate can bring it back. What we're seeing now isn't just fewer sales. It's the end of confidence itself. For millions of Americans, the car sitting in their driveway isn't an asset anymore. It's a debt trap on 4 wheels. During the boom years, dealers and lenders made it easier than ever to buy new. Low rates, long loans, and record trade-in values made people feel richer than they were. Buyers rolled old balances into new loans, trusting prices would stay high forever. But when the market turned, the math flipped overnight. Today, countless owners are upside down, meaning they owe more on their cars than those cars are worth. Imagine paying off a $55,000 truck that now sells for $38,000. You're making payments on value that simply doesn't exist anymore. Used car prices have fallen fast, in some cases 25 to 35% since their peak. Vehicles that sold above sticker price during the pandemic are now dropping thousands below it. For people who financed at inflated prices, there's no easy way out. They can't sell because the sale wouldn't cover the loan. They can't trade in because the dealer won't take on the extra debt. They can't refinance because the bank sees a car worth less than the loan balance. So, they're stuck, paying hundreds every month for a car they don't really own anymore. Across the country, people are discovering the same harsh math. Someone who bought an SUV in 2022 for around $48,000 now finds it worth barely $31,000. But the loan, still around $42,000. When they try to trade it in for something cheaper, the dealer says they'll need to bring nearly $10,000 to $11,000 in cash just to walk away. It's a story repeating everywhere. Nurses, delivery drivers, construction workers, young families, all caught between falling car values and rising loan payments. The market told them to buy, to chase the dream, and then turned its back when the bubble burst. And just like homeowners in 2008, many are realizing too late that what they thought was security is now a liability. Back then, people were trapped in houses. Today, it's cars. The collapse just moved from our neighborhoods to our driveways. For lenders, this is the ticking time bomb. Every upside-down loan is a risk waiting to default. And when those defaults start stacking up, the losses won't stop at the driveway. They'll ripple through banks, auctions, and credit markets, spreading the same fear that once brought down housing. Because this time, the crash isn't made of bricks and wood. It's made of metal and wheels, and it's parked right outside. If the last few years were defined by easy credit, this moment is defined by collapse. The same lenders that once handed out auto loans to almost anyone are now watching those loans fall apart, one missed payment at a time. It started small, a few late payments here and there, but by mid-year, the numbers turned alarming. Default rates on subprime auto loans have hit 11 to 12%, the highest in over a decade. That means more than 1 in 10 borrowers have already fallen behind or stopped paying altogether. For lenders, that's a nightmare they've seen before. The same pattern that led to the housing crash in 2008 is starting to echo in the car market. Easy loans, inflated prices, borrowers stretched thin, and now mass defaults. Repossession companies can't keep up. Tow trucks are running day and night, picking up cars from driveways, parking lots, and gas stations. In some regions, repos are up more than 40% year over year. Our repo agent described it bluntly. We used to get a few calls a week. Now it's a few every hour. The cars don't vanish though. They end up back at the bank, who then send it to auction. But here's the problem. The market is already flooded. Too many used cars, too few buyers. Every repossessed vehicle sold at auction drives prices down even more. Dealers who try to resell those cars can't make a profit. Buyers who financed one last year now find their car worth thousands less. And lenders who thought repos would cover their losses are realizing they're still coming up short. It's a cycle that feeds on itself. As prices fall, more borrowers go upside down. More defaults follow, more repos hit the market, each one dragging down the next. Banks are starting to panic quietly. Some are tightening lending standards overnight. Others are exiting the auto loan business altogether. The smaller lenders, especially those who built their profits on subprime borrowers, are now holding billions in loans that may never be paid back. This isn't just a few missed payments. It's a credit breakdown spreading through the same system that once kept the market alive. And if history's any guide, when credit cracks, everything else follows. And that's when factories realized the danger wasn't slowing demand, it was overproduction. On the edge of Detroit, an assembly line that once built hundreds of trucks a day now sits silent. The lights are off, conveyor belts are still. Rows of unfinished vehicles stand frozen in place, half-built reminders of an industry that moved too fast for its own good. Across America, the story is unfolding. GM, Ford, and Stellantis have all begun scaling back. Plants are cutting shifts, laying off workers, or shutting down entirely. Ford recently paused production at 2 of its major facilities. GM has slowed output on several SUV lines. Stellantis has announced rolling shutdowns across multiple states. These aren't temporary pauses anymore. They're signs of something deeper. Factories built for endless demand are now producing cars no one's ready to buy. The supply chain that once couldn't move fast enough is now choking on its own excess. Behind the scenes, the financial damage is staggering. Ford alone has reported over $4.7 billion in losses from its electric vehicle division this year. EV sales were supposed to lead the company's future. Instead, they've become a drag on its balance sheet. Tesla isn't immune either. It's being forced to cut prices multiple times, slicing profit margins just to keep its car moving. For decades, automakers relied on one simple rule: build more, sell more. But that logic doesn't work when the world changes faster than the assembly line. Electric cars were meant to be the next big revolution, yet consumer demand hasn't kept pace with the billions already invested. Factories can't just stop overnight. Contracts, suppliers, and thousands of jobs depend on the machine staying on. But every new car that rolls out adds to an inventory that's already overflowing. The same production that once powered growth has now become poison. In towns built around these plants, the impact is crushing. Workers are getting fewer hours, smaller paychecks, and growing uncertainty. Cafes near the factories are empty. Small businesses that once depend on those workers are struggling to survive. The truth is simple. The factories kept running, but the demand didn't. And when the world stops buying, the machines that once built prosperity start building losses. Factories built for a demand that no longer exists. Electric was supposed to be the future. Quiet engines, clean energy, no more gas stations. For a while it sounded unstoppable, the next great leap for the car industry. But now that same dream is sitting in parking lots across America, unplugged and unwanted. The electric revolution didn't crash overnight, it stalled slowly, under the weight of too much hope and too little demand. Billions of dollars were poured into new factories, battery plants, and charging networks. Automakers retooled entire production lines to chase a future that consumers weren't ready for. Ford built massive facilities for its Lightning truck, planning for 150,000 units a year. It's selling barely a quarter of that. GM bet heavily on its Ultium platform, promising dozens of new models. Many now sit unsold or delayed. Meanwhile, Ford's EV division lost $4.7 billion last year, and that's not slowing down. Part of the problem isn't technology, it's economics. EVs are still expensive. The average electric vehicle in the US sells for over $55,000, far beyond what most families can afford. And rising interest rates and uncertain resale values and the green revolution starts to look like a luxury hobby. At the same time, the competition that American companies ignored is taking over. Chinese automakers like BYD are flooding global markets with cheaper, reliable EVs. Korean giants like Hyundai and Kia are quietly outselling American brands in this segment that matter, affordable, efficient models. While US automakers built high-end electric trucks and SUVs, their rivals built cars ordinary people could buy. The result? A parking lot full of American-made EVs that no one's lining up for, while foreign brands drive away with the profits. Behind dealership fences, the evidence is everywhere. Rows of shiny electric SUVs collecting dust, batteries slowly discharging under the sun. Some dealers have so many EVs they've started refusing new shipments. The very symbol of progress has become proof of overreach. Even Tesla, once the crown jewel of innovation, is feeling the pressure. Its repeated price cuts show just how fragile the market really is. When the lenders start slashing prices, it's not confidence, it's survival. The EV gamble was supposed to save the industry. Instead, it's become the anchor dragging it down. Automakers bet everything on a future they couldn't afford, and the customers they counted on never came. The electric revolution didn't fail because people stopped believing in it. It failed because it arrived too early and too expensive. For over a century, owning a car was a rite of passage, a symbol of freedom, status, and adulthood. But for the first time in modern history, that idea is dying. A new generation is rewriting what mobility means, and they're doing it without a set of keys. Across America, young buyers simply don't want to own cars anymore. It's not rebellion, it's practicality. Due to escalating prices, expensive insurance, school loans, and remote employment, the once holy automobile purchase has turned into a financial burden. Driving off the lot in your first car, which was once a dream, now feels like committing to years of worry and debt. The number proves it. Car ownership among Americans under 35 has dropped by nearly 30% over the past decade. Surveys show that more than half of Gen Z drivers would rather spend their money on experiences, travel, dining, or technology than on a vehicle. For them, mobility isn't about possession, it's about access. Access has also never been simpler. It's now feasible to use a car without ever owning one, thanks to ride-sharing applications like Uber and Lyft, monthly auto subscriptions, and short-term rental services. Car-sharing businesses like Turo and Zipcar are flourishing in cities, providing flexible, on-demand options that make owning a car seem archaic. Even automakers are experimenting with their own subscription models, letting users swap cars like they swap streaming services. Meanwhile, remote work quietly rewired everything. Millions of people who once drove 60 miles a day now commute from their own bedrooms. When the office disappeared, so did the need for second-family cars. The daily drive, once the backbone of auto sales, simply vanished. Cities are changing too. Urban planners are deliberately designing spaces where cars are less central, more bike lanes, pedestrian zones, and expanded public transit. In some cities like New York, Seattle, and Austin, car-free living isn't a trend anymore. It's a lifestyle. The car, once a symbol of independence, is starting to look like an obstacle. Culturally, the meaning of mobility has shifted. Older generations measured success by what they owned: a home, a car, a driveway. Younger generations measure it by what they can access, share, or experience. The American dream has changed. Mobility doesn't mean ownership anymore. And it's not just ideology, it's economics. The average new car payment in the US now exceeds $750 a month, plus insurance, gas, and maintenance. Younger Americans are doing the math and realizing that's not freedom, that's financial captivity. This isn't a temporary trend, it's an inevitable transformation. Each year, fewer young people get driver's licenses. Each year, more cities adopt car-free zones. Each year, fewer households buy new vehicles. The shift is permanent. The industry spent a century convincing Americans that our car meant freedom, but today freedom means not needing one. The American dream hasn't disappeared, it just took a new road, one without parking lots. When the auto industry slows, it doesn't fall alone. It drags an entire ecosystem down with it. What started as a supply glut and sales slump has now turned into something deeper. A slow-motion collapse spreading far beyond the showroom. Auto transport companies, once racing to deliver cars from ports to dealerships, are now sitting idle. Thousands of car haulers are parking in lots, their drivers laid off or scraping by with half loads. Next comes the detailers, mechanics, and small repair shops, the backbone of every town's economy. When fewer cars are bought, fewer need prep work, repairs, or custom upgrades. Shops that survived the pandemic are now closing their doors, victims of a downturn they never saw coming. For many, it's not about mismanagement, it's about math. When the dealerships aren't selling, no one downstream gets paid. Even auto parts suppliers are being crushed. Companies that make everything from tires to brake pads are cutting shifts, some filing for bankruptcy. Wholesale warehouses that used to hum with forklift traffic are silent. The slowdown has become a chain reaction, one broken link at a time. And then there's the auction industry, where unsold and repossessed cars go to find second lives. Those lots are now overflowing, flooded with vehicles no one wants or can afford. Prices are collapsing, workers are being laid off, and for many auction houses, the storage costs alone are eating into survival. It doesn't stop there. The insurance sector is taking hits too. While defaults and repossessions result in claim write-offs, fewer new cars translate into fewer policies. Small-town agents who had relied on consistent auto business are seeing their commissions vanish. This chain reaction reaches the ports too. Dock workers and freight handlers in places like Long Beach, Savannah, and Houston are seeing car shipments decline sharply. Imported vehicles are piling up, with some ships forced to anchor offshore, waiting for space that doesn't exist. Behind every parked car are hundreds of jobs, from inspectors to forklift drivers, all at risk. It's a quiet crisis. There are no spectacular stock crashes or breaking news alerts. Instead, it's happening in slow motion. The car crash you can't see. Families that built their livelihoods around the automobile are being crushed by a market that forgot about them. The tragedy is that these aren't abstract numbers, they're real people. The mechanic who can't find work, the trucker whose rig sits unpaid in his driveway, the factory worker whose overtime vanished overnight. This isn't just an economic slowdown, it's a social unraveling, proof that the auto industry isn't just an industry, it's a network of millions of lives woven together by steel, rubber, and routine. And when that network collapses, it takes towns, families, and futures with it. Because in the end, this isn't a market collapse, it's an ecosystem failure. What's happening right now isn't just a crash, it's a reboot. Production lines, supply chains, financial systems, and even people's attitudes about owning cars are all being redesigned at the same time. The previous model, build more, sell more, finance indefinitely, finally failed. Dealers drowned in inventory, banks choked on bad loans, and factories built for endless demand are standing still. But in that chaos, something new is taking shape. America's relationship with the car is being rewritten. Mobility is evolving from a product to a service, and ownership is diminishing. The goal is now to have access to an automobile when needed, rather than to possess one. Smaller, more agile competitors are outwitting large automakers because of their size and past expenses. Tech firms and EV startups are reimagining transport from the ground up. Software-driven fleets, cars that update like phones, and lightweight electric vehicles made for cities, not highways. Success in this new century will come from adaptability rather than size. Businesses who view mobility as an ecosystem based on flexibility rather than ownership will succeed. The American dream isn't dying, it's evolving. From driveways to data, from ownership to access, from mass production to smart connection, the reset has already begun. The reset is only beginning. And what's happening next will decide who survives the new automotive age. And if you want to see where the road leads next, hit that subscribe button. The future's already in motion.